identification and attraction between male and female. Pumsasya mutini bhavametam tayora ayo hridayam grandhamahugu ato grihashyata sutapta vittaya janasya mohoyam aham mameti. 558 Srimad Bhagavatam. You pull that up. So we see this verse that is being described that there is attachment of the opposite sex with each other. Yes, so we can see this. The attraction between male and female is a basic principle of material existence. On the one becomes attracted to his body, home, property, children, relatives, and wealth. In this way, one increases life's illusions and thinks in terms of I and mine. So this is there. So what can you do? The attraction is there, and Cupid is putting everyone in this state of being attracted to the opposite sex, and as Kali Yuga gets bad, attracted to the same sex. As it gets worse, you're attracted to animals, and there's no level of degradation. But Cupid is putting the entire world under illusion, right? What's he called in other languages? What's that statue right in the middle of Oxford Street in the heart of London? Erotis, or what's he called? Eros, right? Eros. Am I saying it right? Anyway, I can just put whatever spin on it as I want, make it sound a little outlandish. But he's known as Eros. He's putting the whole world in illusion by shooting love arrows. And there's 5 kinds of love arrows that he shoots, and I don't want to get into that right now. But we see that he is putting the entire world in illusion, but then he's so attracted that even Krishna is attracted to him. So he's attracted to Krishna also. Krishna, even Cupid is attracted to Krishna. And then Krishna is attracted to Srimati Radharani. And now you combine both of them together, and that's Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the beauty of Lord Chaitanya is his greatest weapon. It's so beautiful, so attractive, the beauty of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the movement of Lord Chaitanya is non-different from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is very important to understand. That the movement of Lord Chaitanya is non-different from Lord Chaitanya as stated by His Divine Grace in this purport that we just read, 588 Antya-lila. So we see that when the Supreme Lord disappears from this world, and he also takes his associates with him, it doesn't mean that everything is gone, that Gaura Leela doesn't exist any longer. Now what can we do? Just wait for another day of Lord Brahma, which is only 8.6 billion years. Just wait for another 8.6 billion years and hope that you're born and the same time the Lord Chaitanya appears and then you can catch a train. No, it's not like that. The Acharyas are so merciful. What's the verse number for that they leave behind the boat by which you can cross the... Yeah, can you find the verse? So there's this really ecstatic verse, the Srimad Bhagavatam, which states about how the great Acharyas, they're so kind that even after they go back home, back to Godhead, they leave behind a boat which a person can take in order to cross over the ocean of material existence. And what is that boat? The lotus feet of Krishna and the instructions that they leave behind is very important. That Lord Chaitanya gave us this whole process. Why did Lord Chaitanya, you found it? 10.2.31. Lord Chaitanya, he left behind his instructions. He gave Kripasiddhi to so many living entities that we can see that dog that he kept feeding his remnants to, and then the dog went back home, back to Godhead. He went and embraced a couple of coconut trees. They all went back home, back to Godhead. Lord Chaitanya and it says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that at the time of Lord Chaitanya's appearance, all living entities which were in moving bodies went back home, back to Godhead. That means even Christopher Columbus went back home, back to Godhead. That's far out, right? Even all living entities on this planet which were in moving bodies, right? Not the bodies of stones or plants or trees or something like that. Some stones are living, by the way, if you didn't know that. So, not those, but every living entity is in the moving body. An insect, a fish, whatever is moving, Lord Chaitanya delivered the whole. So, we really screwed up. At least we could have not been so lusty to be born as a plant or a tree. But don't worry, Lord Chaitanya is very merciful. So we can see this. Swayam samutirya sudashtaram dhuman bhavarnavam bhimam abhadra sauhridaha bhavat padambo ruhanavam atrate nidhaya yata sadanugraho bhavan. O Lord, who resemble the shining sun, You are always ready to fulfill the desire of your devotee. And therefore, you are known as a desire tree, Vancha Kalpataru. When acharyas completely take shelter under your lotus feet in order to cross the fierce ocean of nations, they leave behind on earth the method by which they cross. And because you are very merciful to your other devotees, you accept this method to help them. So this is the Lord is so kind. And then the next verse speaks about, yes, go to the translation, please. Someone may say that aside from devotees who always seek shelter at the Lord's lotus feet, there are those who are not devotees but who have accepted different process of attaining salvation. What happens to them? In answer to this question, Lord Brahma and the other demigods said, O lotus-eyed Lord, even though non-devotees who accept severe austerities and penances to achieve the highest position may think themselves liberated, their intelligence is impure. They fall down from their position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for your lotus feet. So we should always remember that the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are what can actually give us shelter from this material world. And who is more merciful than Krishna and his pure devotees? They're more merciful than Krishna. They're more merciful than Krishna. Why? Because they can give Krishna to anyone. They can give Krishna to anyone. And we can say that if a devotee recommends to Krishna someone, Krishna immediately accepts them. For example, once Krishna and Arjuna were going by, were having their fraternal pastimes on the banks of the Yamuna River, and then all of a sudden there's a attractive lady who's walking by. And Krishna says, Arjuna, please go ask her who she is. So then Arjuna goes and asks her, my dear mother, who are you? And then she tells, I am Yamuna, and I really want to marry Krishna. Can you please recommend me to Krishna? And then Arjuna goes and tells Krishna, hey, Krishna, this is Yamuna. She wants to marry you. Will you marry her? He said, yes. Why? Because Arjuna asked him. So the devotees can recommend. When they recommend to Krishna, oh, here's a person, please accept him. Then we're good. The path is clear. So, I want to speak a little bit about something known as the Acharya Sampradaya. If I forget, please remind me, okay? One of you. So, we see that today we are celebrating the disappearance day of Sri Shymananda Pandit. And he is especially a great inspiration for those who are book distributors. You know why? Because he was one of the first book distributors in our Sampradaya. The other two, he was part of the first traveling Sankirtan party that ever existed in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya in this day of Lord Brahma. And the other two personalities who were with him were Narottam Das Thakur and Srinivasa Acharya. So these three were the first book distributors in our Sampradaya. So we feel a great enthusiasm and great ecstasy upon thinking about the ecstatic pastimes of Shymananda Prabhu. And Shymananda Prabhu is one of those personalities as deputed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as we read in today's purport, that after the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya, Narottam Das Thakur and Shyamananda Goswami and Srinivasa Acharya, they took upon the process of spreading the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They took upon this process. So Shyamananda Goswami, he's a very exalted personality. He was... I can read, there's this ecstatic book called The Glories, The Story of Rasikananda. It's a very amazing book. I've read it, and I've read sections of it a few times. It's very ecstatic. It's very ecstatic. I strongly recommend devotees to please read this book whenever you have the time. There's a lot about Shyamananda Thakur in here, and it's a very easy read. It's a very easy read, and of course it's translated and presented by His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Swami Maharaj. So, we see this over here. I will read a few sections of this book, and then we will intersperse comments as we see appropriate. Okay? Okay. Shyamananda, a dear servitor of the Lord, took birth in a village of Utkal at a time when people were determined to commit sins. This is the story of how they were delivered by Shyamananda and his favorite disciple, Rasikendra. Now, the author goes on to say, okay, first let me describe the mystery of Shyamananda's birth, an event that is highly honored among all Shyamanandi Vaishnavas. I will also give a brief description of his renunciation and subsequent travels to many holy places. Now, Sri Krishna Mandala Mahashaya hailed from a Gopa family of Bengal. He migrated to Utkal. He built a house in a very pious village named Dandeshwara. His wife, Durika, was a devoted lady famous for her peacefulness, sobriety, and forbearance. Both of them were celebrated in a society as protectors of Brahminical culture, well versed in all religious principles and extremely pure hearted. Shyamananda Rai took his birth in this family and remained with his parents for some time. On reaching youth, he married, but after only a brief period of married life, he became absorbed in love of Krishna. Due to his feelings of renunciation, he could no longer maintain interest in household affairs. Tears from his eyes washed his whole body, and he forgot himself in the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness, and simply cried day and night while saying, Krishna, Krishna. He looked down on the happiness of household life and considered it poison. He did not care for anything that had no connection to Lord Krishna. He tried to leave his home, but his relatives did not permit him. Overwhelmed by attraction for the Lord, he begged them, please allow me to travel to holy places. I yearn after visiting Vrajapuri, Lord Krishna's own abode. Remembering it, I hardly remain alive. Please do not try to restrain me. I will certainly visit all the holy tirthas and circumambulate the earth. Hearing Shyamananda's words, his family became greatly perturbed. They tried to stop him in various ways, but were not successful. How could a sand dam control the waves of the ocean? No one was able to break Shyamananda's detachment. He entrusted all the family affairs to his younger brother Balaram Mahashai, a pure-hearted, calm and quiet person. Thus freed, he left his home. Balaram stayed at home only briefly. Tormented by affection for Shyamananda, he then left home as well and wandered about searching for his younger brother. So Shyamananda Pandit, he appeared in this family, and when he appeared, his family named him Dukhi. Why? Because what does Dukhi mean? Unhappy, sad. You're sad, unhappy. Why? Why did they name their son Dukhi? Because right before the appearance of Shyamananda Thakur, many, the couple had many miscarriages. And because they had many miscarriages, they named their son Dukhi, hoping that Yamaraj would feel compassion upon them and not take this son away also. Fortunate for all of us, Yamaraj couldn't take him away and didn't take him away. So Yamaraj didn't take him away. And because Krishna wanted his pure devotee to appear. So Shymananda Prabhu, when he appeared, it was extremely beautiful. An extremely beautiful personality. And although he was born in a family of Shudras and their main service was to distribute milk products, whatever milk products are there to other communities and all this, he never showed interest in that. He was always very interested in understanding the philosophy of the Vedas, understanding Krishna consciousness, understanding all this and all that. So his parents saw that he was very interested and he had to go and find a spiritual master to learn this. So upon thinking about what they will do with their son, then they came the idea that yes, there is a very ecstatic devotee of Lord Chaitanya known as Hridayananda. Okay? And this Hridayananda, he's a disciple of Gaudiya Das Pandit. And they thought, oh, Utkal, we are living in this part of Utkal, but Hridayananda Prabhu, he is staying in Ambika Kalna, is so far away. But then Shyamananda Thakur somehow convinces his parents, oh, no, the pilgrims are going, I'll go with them, I'll come like this and that. And he went and he took shelter of Hridayananda. And then he offers his humble obeisances unto his spiritual master. And then over here, there's a beautiful description of their first meeting, where it is said, Okay. After a blissful darshan, he went to offer obeisances unto the lotus feet of Hridayananda, falling on the ground like a stick. Shyamananda offered prayers to him while the devotees present introduced him to their master. In great bliss, Hridayananda observed the lad's beautiful spiritualized form. He ordered his servants to bring the young renunciate to him, and he happily concluded that Shyamananda was a person who would distribute love of Krishna. He asked him, whose servant are you? What is your name? Why have you come here? Shyamananda answered, my name is Dukhi Krishna Das. I am your servant life after life. Hearing this, Hridayananda became extremely happy and initiated him, giving him the name Shymananda. And now there's a few different understandings of how he got the name Shymananda. But so one version is that when he offered obeisances to spiritual master initiated him, he changed his name from Dukhi to Sukhi Krishna Das. So now you're a happy servant of Krishna. And he was very happy with his disciple service and all this, very good, keep it up. Now he orders him to go to Vrindavan. Why? To study under Jiva Goswami. You go study the Vedic science under Jiva Goswami. And when you go and study the Vedic science under Jiva Goswami, you become very competent to distribute the fruit of love of God everywhere. So he sends him there, and Jiva Goswami, just upon, when Sukhi Krishnadas comes and offers his obeisances at the lotus feet of Jiva Goswami becomes very happy. And then he asks him, my dear boy, whose disciple are you? And then when he says that he's a disciple of Hridayananda Prabhu, then Jiva Goswami becomes very ecstatic. He becomes very ecstatic and embraces him because he's known. And then what amazing thing happens is that Hridayananda Prabhu's spiritual master, whose name is Gaudiya Das Pandit, he has very, very beautiful deities of Gaur-Nitai, extremely beautiful deities of Gaur-Nitai. And these deities, they are made from a particular kind of wood. Has anyone been to see these deities? Mitravan, did you go by any chance? Okay, neem. I think they're made of neem wood or some special kind of wood. You'll never find deities as beautiful. They're probably the most beautiful deities on the whole planet right now. And why are they so beautiful is that when Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda had appeared on this planet, they were associating with Gaudiya Das Pandit, and Gaudiya Das Pandit was there, and he was serving them, and he was taking care of them, and cooking for them, and feeding them, and doing Harinam, and ecstatic kirtans, and all this and all that, and performing devotional service for the pleasure of their lordships. And then they told him, okay, thank you so much for taking such good care of us, but now we want to go. And then when they said that, Gaudiya Das Pandit goes and locks the door and said, you're not going anywhere. What's the use of going anywhere? You stay with me, I will take care of you. What's the use of going anywhere? No, you don't have to stay. Said, no, we have to go. He said, no, you have to stay. Then they said, okay, what if we gave you deities completely non-different from us? And then he said, okay, that's a good deal. And then Gaur-Nitai become these ecstatic, beautiful deities. They become beautiful deities. And then they present themselves. Okay, so the Gaur-Nitai says, okay, there you go. These are the deities of Gaur-Nitai. And then Gaudiya Das Pandit says, okay, if they're actually non-different from you, I want them to go and you to stay. And then he says, okay, and then the Gaur-Nitai, they become the deities, and the deities, they start to walk out. He said, no, I want you. No, I want you. No, I want you. No, I want you. And at a certain point of time, he couldn't tell who was who, and he just surrendered. He's like, okay, all right, fine, Jai, Haribo. And then they're there. And before, they used to give darshan freely. But now if you go to these deities, always the curtain is opened and closed and opened and closed. But you get very short darshan of this. And the reason for this is once Gaudiya Das Pandit had given the responsibility of worshipping these deities to his disciple, Hridayananda. And Hridayananda Prabhu, and when he gave this responsibility, he was taking great care, and Gaudiya Das Pandit went on pilgrimage. So he went on pilgrimage, and while he was gone on pilgrimage, he was supposed to come back at a certain time, but he was not coming back. What was happening? And then finally it was Gaura Purnima time. And then he thought, it's Gaura Purnima, we have a temple of Gaur-Nitai. This is literally, they themselves became these deities. So let me organize an ecstatic festival, an ecstatic Mahotsaha for Gaura Purnima. So he organizes the ecstatic Mahotsaha, and then there's an ecstatic kirtan going on, this and that. And then Gaudiya Das Pandit returns, and he's very upset, like, what is this? I never asked you to hold this festival. You think you're such a great person? Okay, go and you can do your own festival somewhere else. So he tries to apologize to his spiritual master, work things out with him, but he's so upset that you just go. So then he takes the festival somewhere else. And there the kirtan is going on, and it's very ecstatic, and all this and all that. And then while the kirtan is going on, and then it becomes so ecstatic, and at that same time, Gaudiya Das Pandit goes to offer bhoga for the pleasure for Gaur-Nitai. And then when he opens the curtains, The deities are not there. He said, what? Where the deities go? So then he says that the deities had jumped off the altar and they went and they joined the ecstatic kirtan of Hridayananda. It's ecstatic kirtan, and all of a sudden, just imagine you're having an ecstatic kirtan led by Giri Prabhu or something, and then all of a sudden the deities just jump off the altar and they join. I mean, that would have been a really ecstatic kirtan, right? Whatever. But that actually happened. How can we understand? Just when Bhakti Vikas Maharaj and Shivaram Maharaj and Mukundada Prabhu were here, and they're leading an ecstatic kirtan, and all of a sudden Gonita jump off the altar and they join. That would be an ecstatic kirtan. Well, that's how ecstatic the kirtan was. That they jumped off the altar and they were, I don't know how they were dancing, but it would have been very amazing, very ecstatic. Like this, like that, like this, like that. However they were dancing, it would have been very ecstatic. And Gauridas Pandit is livid, like, you told me you won't leave, and now you're leaving. That was his whole deal. Stay with me, and I'll take care of you. But now you're breaking your deal. That was the whole deal he had with Gaur Nitai. It's like, okay, you stay here. No, you go. No, you go. Okay. But you stay, right? So he's livid. He's very upset. What is this? How can you leave me and go? So he runs behind the deities who are dancing, and he's running behind them with a stick. And Gaur and Nitai, they go in different directions, because one of them has got to make it, right? So they go in different directions, and then Nityananda Prabhu goes somewhere, and he's running behind Lord Chaitanya, like chastising him, you have to come back. And then, not knowing where to hide, Lord Chaitanya jumps inside Hridayananda Prabhu's heart. And at that time, he got the name Hriday Chaitanya. So he got the name Hriday Chaitanya, like that. So then, he forgives his disciple, and the disciple, of course, right? Lord Chaitanya jumped into his heart. How pure should his heart be for Lord Chaitanya to jump inside his heart? We can't understand. It's inconceivable. So then, anyway, and then Gaur Nitai go back on the altar, and we're still so fortunate to have the darshan. It's very ecstatic. So this person's disciple is Sukhi Krishna Das. And he goes to Vrindavan to go and to study under Jiva Goswami. And they are so happy. They're so happy. What's the goal of everything with Nitaya Karuna Habe? Come on, no one knows this. Nitaya Karuna Habe. Vraje Radha Krishna Pabe. Okay, at least tell me, where is this line from? Please do me a favor. Thank you, that's right. Nitaya Pada Kamala. How many times did we chant this bhajan? My God. Okay. Nitaya Karuna Habe, Vraje Radha Krishna Pabe, right? So by worshipping Lord Nityananda, where do you want to go? Vraje Radha Krishna Pabe. You want to go to Vraja and worship Radha Krishna. So they go. He's with his best friends in Vraja. You got, who are your friends? Narottam Das Thakur and Srinivasa Acharya. That's some good association to have as your best friends. And then who are you learning from? Jiva Goswami, Nana Shastra Vichara Naika Nipano Sadharma Samstapako. So this is the bliss, and I'm sure the prasadam was fantastic, right? I'm sure it was, right? You're living the dream. Like, what more could you ask? You're in Vrindavan, serving Radha and Krishna under the tutelage of Jiva Goswami. This is so ecstatic, right? And one of the services Jiva Goswami gave him, you go and sweep the Sevakunj. That's your service. You go and you sweep Sevakunj. So every day, very, very, with great love and devotion, Sukhi Krishna Das would go and sweep. He would go and sweep Sevakunj. And then one day when he was sweeping, he saw this extremely attractive, beautiful jewel. I thought, this is a special jewel. And he kept this jewel with himself and continued sweeping. And then one day, while he was doing so, a person came in disguise. An old lady came. And she asked him, you've been sweeping here. Have you seen this anklet, this jewel, like Nupur? What's the translation for Nupur in English, Mitrawan? Nupur. What do the Matajis wear around their leg? Anklet? Ankle bells? Whatever, anyway. Good thing I don't know. But, anyway, so the Nupur, the ankle bell or whatever, right? He said, did you find this? He said, yeah, I found it, but I want to give it to the owner. So then he asked her, are you the owner? She said, no. I want to give it to the owner. He said, no. The owner is my daughter-in-law. I can take it to her. He said, no, this jewel is so valuable. I want to personally give it to the owner. And he was not having it. And then turns out that the night before in Sevakunj, Radha and Krishna and all the close associates, on Radharani's side of course, had an extremely ecstatic Rasa Leela. It was extremely ecstatic, and in the ecstasy of that, after they retired, Radharani realizes that one of her anklet or nupur had fallen on the floor, and she had dispatched Lalita Devi to go and find this anklet. So they went to go and find this anklet, and then she disguises herself like this. And then he said, no, I want to take it. And so then she takes Shymananda to go to meet Srimati. So she asked her, who anklet is this? She said, it's my Swamini's. It's my master's anklet. He said, okay, take me there. So then takes him there. Before, you have to bathe in this river. So then he bathes, and he comes out. And because no male other than Krishna can actually stand before Radharani. You can't have Purusha Bhava and come in front of Srimati. Then he takes upon his eternal gopi form, and then she sees him, and then he goes and he gives her her anklet, and Radharani is so pleased that she makes a mark on his forehead. And she said, because you're so dear to my Shama, from this day on I name you Shymananda. And then she initiates him, and she puts her nupur on his forehead as a special tilak. So it's very ecstatic. And then after all that is done, he comes back home, he comes back to the ashram, and Jiva Goswami is saying, what is this tilak? What is this tilak? And why? And he says, Hare Krishna, I'm Shymananda. Like, why are you Shymananda? Your name is Sukhi Krishna Das. What's going on? This. So then he explains to him everything which happened. And he goes, wow, that's ecstatic. That's amazing. But then what ends up happening is there's a huge controversy which blows up. And everyone thinks that Jiva Goswami had reinitiated Sukhi Krishna Das and given him the name Shymananda and put on this tilak on Shyamananda's forehead. So everyone's wondering, what's going on? How can Jiva Goswami do this? And Hridaya Chaitanya finds out, and he wants an explanation. And then everyone thinks, Jiva Goswami, why are you doing like this? How can you do this? It's so offensive. And it is offensive. Right? For example, Srila Prabhupada gave you a name, and then some Sahaja rascal comes and changes your name. That's offensive to Srila Prabhupada. Right? I don't give a damn how Rasik they may seem, what color their tilak is, how many rounds they may claim to chant, how they can jump to Manjari Bhav over 1 week or 7 days or 10 days. They become Manjaris overnight. I don't give a fig about all this nonsense. They can say what they want to say. But this is not the process. So it is actually very offensive if you were to take the disciples of a bona fide spiritual master and change their names, no matter who the hell you may think you are. Right? It doesn't matter. So everyone thought that this is what happened when Jiva Goswami. Jiva Goswami took this person's disciple, changed his name, and did all these things. So there was a big controversy. It's a big controversy, thinking it's not bona fide, this and that. So then Hridaya Chaitanya, along with 64 Mahants, they come and they approach Jiva Goswami, and they say, how can you do this? How can you change the name? And he said, what to speak of him being my disciple? Jiva Goswami's humility. He says, what to speak of him being my disciple? I am not even qualified to be his disciple. I'm not even qualified. So then, all the 64 Mahants and Hridaya Chaitanya Prabhu, they're all standing there, and they're asking him, what is this nonsense? Your name Shymananda. What is this new tilak? How did you get all this? And then he says, it's all your mercy, Gurudev. It's all your mercy. And his Guru is wondering, no, how can this be? This can't be. How can you do this? And he said, no. How did it happen? It's all your mercy. It's my mercy. You want to know my mercy? So then he takes some oil and some sand, and he tries to rub off the tilak on Shymananda Prabhu's head. And the more he rubbed it off, the more the tilak started to shine. That's why they have a very special tilak, the Shyamanandis. I'll send you this picture. You can put it up for everyone to see. They have a very special tilak. And the more he rubbed it off, the more and more and more and more this tilak started to shine. Then everyone understood, okay, there's something very special going on. And then at the right opportune moment, Jiva Goswami tells Hridaya Chaitanya and all the devotees exactly what happened. So now you can see that's why the tilak, which we're going to pull up very shortly, is, there you go. So it looks like that. That's the tilak. So Radharani keeps her ankle, her nupur on his forehead and makes a tilak like that, and takes some dust off her lotus feet and puts it in the middle. That's the real mercy. That's the real mercy. It's really ecstatic. So it's very amazing. So that's the tilak, and then they realize, oh wow, this is very, very amazing. This is how amazing Shymananda Pandit is. He got such amazing mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of Srimati Radharani directly. So Hridaya Chaitanya is very pleased with him. Wow, that's the goal of our life. It's amazing. Even Prabhupada said, even if from all this effort, one person can become a pure devotee, our whole effort is considered a success. So the spiritual master, wow, this is considered a success. And one time, Gaudidas Pandit, Hridaya Chaitanya, Gaudidas Pandit and Hridaya Chaitanya, Hridaya Chaitanya Prabhu, after this whole thing, decides that he's going to go on pilgrimage along with Shymananda Prabhu. And when they go on pilgrimage to Shymananda Prabhu, the kirtan becomes very ecstatic and they all get absorbed in their rasa. And Hridaya Chaitanya becomes completely absorbed in Sakya rasa. And his spiritual master also, Gaudidas Pandit, is also Subal. Subal is also Priya Narmasaka. So he also gets absorbed in Sakya rasa. And his spiritual master, Hridaya Chaitanya, he also gets absorbed in Sakya rasa. But then Shymananda, he is absorbed in some other, he's absorbed in Madhurya rasa. And again, Hridaya Chaitanya becomes very upset and he starts to beat him with a stick. Beat him so bad. And what is this? You're deviating, you're jumping over your guru, you're doing all this and that. And then that night, Hridaya Chaitanya sees a dream of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in his dream, he sees that Lord Chaitanya's entire upper garment is soaked in blood and all this. And he asks him, my dear Lord, what happened? He said, you're beating my dear devotee, Hridaya Chaitanya. In Madhurya Ras, Sakya Ras is also there. Why? So you're beating my dear devotee Shymananda. I took the beatings for him on my back, just like how he did for Haridas Thakur. I took the beatings. So Hridaya Chaitanya, he says, you have to go and apologize to your disciples. So then Hridaya Chaitanya goes and apologizes. They embrace and everything is done. And Lord Chaitanya tells him, now in order to make up for this, you have to perform 12 festivals back to back in order to this is your prayashita. Then he does that and it's very ecstatic. And then Hridaya Chaitanya tells him, my dear Shymananda, when you go to preach and you go to Utkal, there you will meet a person who is your equal. And his name is Rasika Murari, Rasika Ananda. And both of you will preach together and deliver Utkal. It's very ecstatic. So he tells him that, okay, Gurudev, Hare Krishna, very nice. Hridaya Chaitanya goes back to Ambika Kalna. And then these three devotees are very ecstatic, living the dream, studying under Jiva Goswami. Life is as perfect as it can be. Right? But then one day, Jiva Goswami holds a special festival. And he invites all the Vaishnavas that are present. He invites all of them. And there's a very ecstatic festival. And then Jiva Goswami says, now the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's time for them to spread. And in order for them to spread, I have chosen three very competent personalities. I have taught them everything. They've understood the depths of Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta very amazingly. And now I want to dispatch them in order to go to different places, in order to spread the writings and teachings of the previous Goswamis. So, and he says, these three people are, and everyone's heart is, what's going on? Narottam Das Thakur, I give him the name Narottam Mahashai. Srinivas Thakur, now I give him the name Srinivas Acharya. And Shymananda, now I give him the name Shymananda Prabhu. These three personalities I would like to choose in order for them to go and preach the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. And I'd like to beg for permission from their spiritual masters in order for them to go. So Narottam Das is spiritual master. Who is Narottam Das Thakur's spiritual master? Lokanath Goswami. He gives his permission. Then Hridaya Chaitanya gives his permission. Srinivasa Acharya, it is said that he's a disciple of Jiva Goswami. That's what it says in one biography on Narottam Das Thakur. I also give permission. So now these three devotees will set off, and I request all the devotees to give their blessings to these three. So you can just imagine, that's the worst thing that could imagine would happen to him. This is amazing. Here I am, I'm with my spiritual master, I'm with Jiva Goswami, I'm serving all these, I'm learning, it's ecstatic. But then that's the mission. And then they're sent out on traveling Sankirtan. They're sent out on traveling Sankirtan. And of course, there's a whole pastime which happens with how the books were lost and how they were found again. But Shymananda Prabhu, first he goes to Keturi. He preaches for a little time along with Narottam Das Thakur. And then he goes to his own place, Utkal, where in order to start preaching. And then when he's there, he preaches so amazingly. One time he was preaching, and then they're having an ecstatic kirtan, and an envious Muslim, he came, and his name was Sher Khan. And he hated the Vaishnavas singing and chanting and dancing. And then he disbanded the kirtan. He said, stop this nonsense. The next day, Shymananda Prabhu came back with a much bigger kirtan party. And they were all having an ecstatic kirtan. And this time Sher Khan became so upset that he started to become violent and break the mridangas and all this. And then Shymananda Prabhu in the kirtan, he starts chanting, Radha Krishna, Radha Krishna, Radha Krishna. He starts chanting very loudly. And then when he does that, all the Muslim soldiers, they start to vomit blood. And then all their beards catch on fire. And they run away and they go and they bathe themselves in the river in order to set off the fire. And then he has a terrible dream in the night where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears to him and tells him, how dare you do this to my pure devotees? Who you call Allah and who they call Radha Krishna are the same person. Who they call Krishna are the same person. How dare you do this? And the next day, Sher Khan came and offered his obeisances to Shymananda Prabhu and then became his disciple. So it is very ecstatic, and if I have the permission of the temple commander, I'd like to go a little bit more into the details of... Okay, great. Right opportunity. So they go, and now I'd like to read a few of the ecstatic pastimes that Shymananda Prabhu and Rasikananda Prabhu had to preach. Right? We can see a few things over here. Okay. So now, so we can see this. Does anyone have is Rasikananda Prabhu on Veda base?
No, it is on, I have it on my phone.
Yeah, can you pull it up, please? So, we'll read this section. Okay. $8:45. Okay, but if there's no questions or comments, we could go on, right? Okay. All right, so you know what? It's only 8:45, so I'll just have to speak, I guess. So, anyway, so Shymananda Prabhu and Rasika Murari, they start to go together. And so one time what happens is while he's in Vrindavan, Shymananda Prabhu, he goes back on pilgrimage and he's in Vrindavan. He has a vision of the deities who tell him, I want you to go to Utkal, and there you're going to meet Rasika Murari, and both of you are going to preach. He thinks, oh, that's amazing, but I don't want to leave Vrindavan. Again, he gets another dream. The Lord orders him, I want you to go, and he again doesn't go. Then this time, the Lord was like, okay, this is too much. And then he goes to Jiva Goswami. The Lord appears to Jiva Goswami and tells him, I want you to order him to go. So he had a vision 3 times. So then 3 times he got this vision. He goes and he starts to preach. And then they preach and they deliver many, many great personalities. Anyway, I wanted to read, but I don't have the time, unfortunately. But the main deity and the main place where Shyamanandis have their pita is known as this place known as Gopi Vallabhpura. It's a very great place, and we hope that whenever we go to India next time, if we can visit this place, because the culture of Gaudiya Vaishnavas is still alive over there, and they really love Bhakti Vikas Maharaj over there. You know why? Because of this book. Come on. So that's why. So anyway, because there's a disappearance of Shymananda Prabhu, we can read a little bit about this. So in course of time, a messenger came. Oh yeah, you can see this. It's the 13th wave, the passing of Hridayananda and Shyamananda. You got it? Okay. In the course of time, a messenger came from Ambika informing them that Sri Adhikari Thakur Hridayananda had passed away to Goloka. Hearing the news, Shyamananda wept profuse tears and called for Rasika, telling him, I will not stay in this world anymore. Separation from Hridayananda is piercing my heart. After saying this, he continued crying, and all the devotees became aggrieved. Shyamananda then told to Rasika that he would hold a great festival in Shyamasundara, and there he would arrange to collect all the necessary items. Receiving this order, Rasika dispatched many of his followers to different provinces to collect various items. Following this, the festival was held in the month of Phalguna. It was perfectly performed with many groups of Shyamananda's servants and disciples coming to Shyamasundara. Thereafter, Shyamananda moved to Govindapura. It was here that he received the news of the disappearance of Damodar. Upon learning this, he broke down and told Rasika, Damodar has shown the way. A memorial festival was then held in the honor of Damodar and Sri Adhikari Goswami. Shyamananda told Rasika, previously the Lord instructed me to take your help to go and save the fallen souls. Abiding by his order, I preached pure devotion to Lord Krishna and saved the inhabitants of Utkal. The whole place is now mad with love of Krishna. Now you should live with these disciples, because I have received the order of Krishna that I too have to depart soon. I will not stay in this world much longer. After saying this, Shyamananda went with Rasika to Nrsimhapura, where he suddenly fell ill. Shyamananda and his group of devotees remained in the house of Udayananda Rai for 4 months. During this period, many experienced doctors came to treat Shyamananda with various prescriptions. Even though Rasika nursed his guru day and night, Shyamananda did not recover. He told his disciples, Krishna has ordered me to leave this world. Please do not try to cure me. You should do Sankirtan day and night and discuss topics of Krishna with other devotees. Musical instruments such as a veena, venu, ravava, and murali are my medicines. Hearing these words from Shyamananda, Rasika felt much aggrieved. With great emotion, he said, Please permit me to go to Vrindavan. How can I live without you? To pacify Rasika, Shyamananda told him, You should always internally visualize yourself as living in Vrindavan. However, it is my order that you remain with all the Shyamanandis who have taken birth in Utkal. Continue preaching love of Krishna and make the world float in love for Krishna. Serve the devotees and always and allow others to serve as you serve. Spread the teachings of pure devotional service to one and all, and care for all creatures in this world. He then put his lotus feet on the head of Rasika. There is no higher mantra than the lotus feet of the Guru. Tied a piece of cloth on Rasika's wrist and painted Rasika's forehead with his own hand. Then, with folded hands, he told everyone, I have placed the mark of the Shyamanandi Sampradaya on Rasika's forehead. You should all obey Rasika, and he will look after you. Anyone who is against Rasika will have to leave my group. In this way, he handed over all responsibility to Rasika. Sankirtana continued, and everyone remained anxious over Shyamananda. Then, in 1522 of the Shakra era, 1630 AD, on the Krishna Pratipati Tithi of Ashadha, as devotees called out the names of Hari, blew conches, and chanted in Sankirtan, Shymananda Prabhu disappeared from this world. Upon Shyamananda's departure, his disciples fell unconscious. Rasika also lost his sense of control and fell to the ground. Only with the help of his companions did he come back to consciousness. In lamentation, Rasika said, I was a boy of 18 years when Shyamananda came to meet me. I served him for 20 years, and now where has he gone, leaving me alone? Krishna Prema was attained simply by his touch. By seeing him, all were purified. By his mercy, ignorance was destroyed. Through his grace, one could be completely liberated from the bonds of the material world. By his clemency, low-class persons and heretics became mad in love for Krishna. Such a Prabhu has left me. I can no longer see him. I am lost. Who will show me such affection? With whom shall I travel from province to province? With whom shall I go on pilgrimage? Who will take me to Vrindavan? I will not be able to see his lotus feet again. Saying this, Rasika fell on the ground. Although the devotees tried, they could not pacify him, and tears flowed from his eyes. Thus, the love he displayed for his Guru could melt even a stone. Therefore, it is not possible to fully describe his grief, even with millions of mouths. Now I shall describe the next 3 chapters, the disappearance festival of Shymananda Prabhu. These pastimes may be compared to the waves of an ocean. It is only by Rasika's favor that I narrate them. Please do not find any fault in my words. I have written only as he has instructed me. O Vaishnavas, please listen to Rasika Mangal. By this act, you will soon attain love for Krishna. Making the lotus feet of Shymananda by ornament, this son of Rasamai happily narrates Rasika Mangal. Shri Shymananda Prabhu ki jai. So if there's any questions or comments? or questions or corrections, we could take them now. Yes, Girish Prabhu.
About the past time when Shymananda Prabhu got his name directly from
Radharani.
Radharani, and then his guru came and he didn't. At this time he didn't know this, and so then he chastised Rasikananda. But I was just reflecting how, even though his guru in the past time was wrong, Shymananda Prabhu remained humble the whole time and didn't say, "No, you don't understand. Actually, this happened."
Yeah, this one thing, firstly he was not, you should not say in this pastime he was wrong. He performed the pastime of appearing to make a mistake. That's how we should phrase it. Yeah. So, he didn't rebel. He didn't rebel. He still remained humble, took care of it. Why? Because no matter how hard things are, if we are surrendered to a bona fide spiritual master, then we're in Krishna's hands. And we should have faith. One thing I've realized, even my insignificant self, is that Krishna has always given me more than what I've asked for. Even even within the association, even within these past 11 years, Krishna has always given me more than what I've asked for. Always. Yeah. So, to not have faith in Krishna, to not have faith in the protection of Krishna, to not have faith in the benediction of Krishna consciousness, and the benediction of being on the boat of devotion to Lord Vishnu's feet, which will take us away from this material world, with the captain of the ship being the bona fide spiritual master. To not have that is very disrespectful, actually. Even when things are happening, especially when it's happening with the guru or the guru's representatives, and they may be completely wrong. Tatinu Kampam, just wait. So much mercy is right around the corner. And especially when sometimes our authorities, they're very merciful to us on correcting us. They don't have to do that. They don't have to take the effort to correct us. But when they do, and if we take it with the right attitude, even if their details are wrong, the principle still pertains to us. And that's the point, right? That's what Shymananda, even if the details are wrong, he may think that, oh yes, everything my spiritual master is saying about me is true. So who cares if he got the details wrong? Right? So if I said that this rasgulla is so tasty, it's so amazing, it's so exciting, the rasgulla is and it was just made with jaggery. They didn't use sugar, they used jaggery, and the rasgulla is so tasty. So if a person was to get hung up on, no, the rasgulla is not made of jaggery, it's made from sugar. They use sugar and not jaggery, and if they were to get hung up on that, they'll miss out on tasting the rasgulla. So the whole thing is they have the principle right. They have the principles of Krishna consciousness right. And there's another example in our sampradaya, that once a very, very, very advanced devotee, he had to give second initiation mantras to one of his disciples. And his disciple was a great Sanskrit scholar. And this person, who was his guru, he was not good at pronouncing Sanskrit at all. So he was whispering these mantras into his disciple's ear, and the disciple, being a Sanskrit scholar, knows what the right pronunciation is. But because his guru was giving him the mantra like that, every day when he chanted the mantras in the mispronounced Sanskrit the way his guru taught him, and then he taught his disciple the proper pronunciation of the mantra. And the mantra had full effect. Right? Once Jayadvaita Maharaj asked Srila Prabhupada, now this is a very daring question to ask the spiritual master, but the way he asked him, there's not even one drop of Maryada Vyatikrama. Not even one drop of overstepping the boundary or breach of etiquette in dealing with the spiritual master. And he says, Srila Prabhupada, sometimes we see that the spiritual master mispronounces a verse or misquotes a verse. How are we supposed to still understand that the spiritual master is perfect? Right? Submissively, not in a challenging tone, just for his own benefit and for the benefit of all of us, Loka Mangala, he asks this question. Right? And Prabhupada told him that it doesn't matter if the spiritual master mispronounces a verse or misquotes a verse. One must see how he is preaching Krishna consciousness. See? So that's the whole point. That's the attitude of a disciple. Even if he's getting chastised for something he did not do, he still accepts the chastisement as the greatest mercy. That's why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciples like two things a lot. And what are these two things?
Jivda.
A, that's a good guess, but no. What were you saying, Mother? That's dry answer, isn't it? So, Prabhupada dera dal, Prabhupada dera gal. Okay? So, Prabhupada dera dal means the remnants of Srila Prabhupada, remnants of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the dal that he took, whatever remnants. And then what they like more is Prabhupada dera gal, which means the chastisement of Prabhupada. When Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would chastise him, they think, wow, he's so fortunate, he got chastised by Srila Gurudev, he got chastised by Prabhupada, by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. So the disciples, they take the chastisement of the spiritual master and say, wow, I'm so fortunate. Same thing. In Nityananda Prabhu's pastimes, he was going and Shymananda Sen was arranging all the prasadam and all the arrangements. He was like the Vishnachita Prabhu of their group, organizing everything the whole time, right? And, I guess Vishnachita Prabhu is like the Shymananda Sen of that group. That's a better way of saying it. So, he was organizing this big festival, and this one time, they were in a particular place, and there was, the prasadam was a little late. And Lord Nityananda, he was very upset. And he called Shymananda Sen, and he gets so upset with him, and he just kicks him. He kicks Shymananda Sen. Shymananda Sen falls on the floor and says, I'm so hungry and you haven't given me prasadam. Boom! And he kicks him and he falls on the floor. And then Shymananda Sen is like, thank you so much. Like, now you've accepted me as your own. Because you wouldn't do that to anyone. You wouldn't just do that to some random person. You wouldn't do that to some random person. Shymananda Sen thought, I'm so fortunate. Nityananda Prabhu has personally kicked me. I'm so fortunate. Now you've accepted me as your own. Right? So that's the attitude of receiving chastisement from the bona fide spiritual master and his representatives. That's the attitude. And one of his nephews, Shrikant, he got very upset, this and that, but he had problems later. But Shymananda Sen, so that's the way. That's a nice observation. Yes. Anything else? Yeah.
So you mentioned this Shyamananda Sampradaya.
Mm-hmm.
Like I heard, like there were like 4 main Sampradaya. Where does it stand?
So this is a branch of Lord Chaitanya's Sampradaya.
Still bona fide.
Bona fide, yes, mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, one of the branches of Lord Chaitanya's tree.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? Rishi, you have something? Okay. Mataji's?
You said you wanted to talk about something.
Oh, yeah. Yes, what you have?
Sampradaya.
Hey. Okay. So this is a very ecstatic purport that I read, actually, that Shivram Maharaj and Bhakti Vikas Maharaj asked me to read out when they were together just now. Okay, is this it? No, it's in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. I remember that much. 10th canto, chapter 2, 31. Yeah, 10:2:31. Who's going to pull it up? Oh yeah, that's right. That is the boat verse. Good point. So now, ready? I'm going to start reading it. Okay? Okay, so we just read this verse. Okay? And now, this statement reveals how the merciful acharyas and the merciful Supreme Personality of Godhead together help the serious devotee who want to return home back to Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his teaching, Sri Rupa Goswami said, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. One can achieve the seed of Bhakti Lata, devotional service, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. The duty of the Guru is to find the means according to the time, the circumstances, and the candidate, by which one can be induced to render devotional service, which Krishna accepts from a candidate who wants to be successful in going back home, back to Godhead. After wandering throughout the universe, a fortunate person within this material world seeks shelter of such a guru or acharya, who trains the devotee in the suitable ways to render service according to the scriptures, so that the Supreme Personality of Godhead will accept this service. Now, this makes it easier for the candidate to reach the ultimate destination. The Acharya's duty, therefore, is to find the means by which the devotees may render service according to references from Shastra. Rupa Goswami, for example, in order to help subsequent devotees, published such devotees as Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is the duty of the Acharya, to publish books like Shymananda Prabhu and distribute them, that will help future candidates take up the method of service and become eligible to return back home, back to Godhead. By the mercy of the Lord and our Krishna consciousness movement, this same path is being prescribed and followed. Thus, the devotees have been advised to refrain from 4 sinful activities: illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling, and to chant 16 rounds a day. These are bona fide instructions. Because in the Western countries, constant chanting is not possible, one should not artificially imitate Haridas Thakur, but should follow this method. Krishna will accept a devotee who strictly follows the regulative principles and the method prescribed in the various books and literatures published by authorities. The Acharya gives a suitable method for crossing the ocean of nations by accepting the boat of the Lord's lotus feet, and if this method is strictly followed, the followers will ultimately reach their destination by the grace of the Lord. This method is called Acharya Sampradaya. Parampara Jano Bhalo Mate. Don't be shy in understanding your Guru Parampara. It is therefore said, Sampradaya Vihina Ye Mantraste Nishphala Mataha. The Acharya Sampradaya is strictly bona fide. Therefore, one must accept the Acharya Sampradaya, otherwise one's endeavor will be futile. Shri Narottam Das Thakur sings, Sandera Charana Sevi Bhakata Shane Bas, Janime Janime He E Abhilash. One should worship the lotus feet of the Acharya and live within the society of devotees. Then one's endeavor to cross the ocean of nations will be successful. So we can see that Srila Prabhupada has done the same thing. He has done the same thing as Shymananda Thakur. He's come, he's distributed books, he's done all these things. So I'd just like to read a few quotes in this regard, because Shymananda Prabhu is the first book distributor. We can see this over here. Yes, Mother, you have a question. Yes. Okay. You can ask your question.
Just 2 questions.
Yeah, 2 more minutes. Okay. Oh, Damaya Mataji, is that you?
Hare Krishna.
Oh my God. Welcome back.
I don't have
After a
no
long time.
Hare
Krishna is
Krishna.
all attractive.
I wanted to speak about Cupid. I know you didn't speak about him much in the class, but how do you overcome the clutches of
Madana Parihara,
Potency.
Mukundamala Stotra, verse number 24. How do you overcome the effect of Cupid? Is that your...
Yeah, that's my
Okay,
question.
so is this it? No. Go back. Back. There you go. Madana Parihara Sitam Madhye Manasi Mukunda Padara Vinda Damni Haranayana Krishna Nuna Krishosi Manasi Mukunda. So it's Manasi Na Chakra Parakramam Murarehe. Oh Cupid, abandon your residence in my mind, which is now the home of Lord Mukunda's feet. You have already been incinerated by Lord Shiva's fiery glance. So why have you forgotten the power of Lord Murari's disc? So you can pray, you can learn this verse and you can say this to Cupid every time your mind is afflicted by lusty desires. Another solution, if your mind is afflicted by lusty desires, is to look at the beautiful curving eyebrows of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those eyebrows will counteract. The eyebrows of the Lord are like the bows, and the glance of the Lord are like the arrows. So they will counteract the arrows that are shot by the opposite sex towards a person, or whatever lusty desires you may have. Or you can also meditate upon the lotus feet of Krishna. Abhi smritish Krishna padara vinde. Shanoti abadhani cha sham chanoti. Sattvasya shuddhim paramatma bhaktim jnana cha vijnana viraga yuktam. So if you meditate upon the lotus feet of Krishna, then all these unwanted desires will go away. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you. But is Cupid, is he a demigod?
Cupid, yeah, he's one of the agencies. He's one of them.
Thank you.
Okay,
Hare
Jai.
Krishna.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Sri Shymananda Prabhu ki Jai. Taking over the world with Sri Prabhupada's transcendental book distribution, especially Chaitanya Charitamrita and Bhagavatam set distribution and the Varnashram farm communities ki Jai. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. One shake up with the Abhishek. I was going to read some quotes, but time. The time factor. Time factor.